Huge thank you to CIBC for making We Get It possible. Hello, happy Monday if you're watching this on a Monday. Welcome to We Get It. My name is Karine. I'm the program director with Young Adult Cancer Canada. So if you watch this every week, you're kind of tired of me saying that, but just in case you're a first watch person, welcome. This is a weekly, it's early for me. It's a weekly show that we do every Monday. It comes out on Facebook and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we have a variety of guests. And this week, I'm super pumped. I am with Ashley Stead-Morine. She is an amazing survivor in our young adult cancer community. She's a YACCtivist. And actually, sometimes when I look at you, Ashley, I'm thinking she's been connected forever, and you haven't. You got really engaged with YACC quickly, and we're so grateful. Thank you so much for being here with me. So for you, middle of the night, we should say that to people. It's like almost 2 o'clock in the morning for you, right?
2 in the morning. Yep. I should really have a cup of tea or coffee too.
Yeah, you could, because Ashley is in New Zealand. So we'll talk about that. That's not where we met her. Sadly, I wish I did meet you in New Zealand. Maybe I'll have to go and see you. Yes, so that's why the time difference. So let's jump in and first start with just a little bit about you. Like if you can tell us like your cancer story a little bit and some information around that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from the East Coast of Canada originally. I call myself a Newfound Scotian because I've spent half my life in Newfoundland, half my life in Nova Scotia. And I got a very exciting opportunity in 2017 to move to the Northwest Territories and work in the Arctic in a little town called Inuvik. It was 200 kilometers above the Arctic Circle. And yeah, I don't know, learning about it in social studies in school, I was always so keen to go up there and to visit. Anyway, I was about 3 or 4 months into my life in the Arctic, and I noticed that my vision was starting to blur. Just sort of suddenly, out of nowhere, my periphery was gone. So I ended up going to a clinic, very small little hospital that we had in Inuvik, and it took, goodness, 3 months until I finally, I went from clinic in Inuvik, specialist in Yellowknife, specialist in Edmonton, and then like oncologist in Edmonton, where they were like, okay, you've got a 12 millimeter tumor in your eye, and it's called ocular melanoma. And having been, a fairly healthy girl up until that point, it was a shock, an absolute shock. And of course, I didn't get my diagnosis in the clinic in Edmonton. I got it 2 days after Christmas when I was spending Christmas alone with my husband, in a remote community where we had some friends, but we were pretty fresh to the community at the time. And I remember getting the diagnosis and just being like, okay, where do I go? Who do I talk to about how scared I am? And nothing prepares you for you have cancer. And I'm sure everybody in this community can agree. It's like you think about how bad it would be and you feel bad for people that have cancer until you have it yourself. And you're like, that's a really shitty situation. Yeah. I hope to never hear I have cancer again. But yeah, I just didn't know really who to reach out to, but I have now 3 years later, I have amazing cancer pals, Yeah. Like they say, it's the group that you don't really want to be part of, but in the end, you're grateful for them.
Yes. And it was like, remind me, but wasn't it as well? So I remembered it was around like Christmas, like really close to Christmas. Mm-hmm. And where you were, wasn't it also a time where the period where it's dark all the time in the Arctic? Like, was there any light? Yeah. Or I feel like, remember, and I'm so like, for me, I'm affected by light. And I remember hearing your story the first time and thinking, holy shit, like you get a cancer diagnosis and it's dark all the time and it's fucking Christmas time.
Yeah, it was, so about this time of year, actually, I just got a few photos from my friends up north. It's getting to be very dark. So I think the sun's setting around 1 p.m. now, and come early December, it'll be yet 24 hours of darkness. And you'll have a tiny bit of twilight, like half hour at lunchtime, and that's it. So, of course, I was away from family at Christmas, which was sad. But I also, through that entire season, had this anxiety because I knew that I was getting a phone call. Was it a phone call that it was malignant? Was it a phone call that it was benign? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Christmas Eve. I broke out in hives. I was so worried. You know, I was taking sleeping pills. I was trying everything to just sort of get through that period. And then, of course, I got the diagnosis. I just remember going to the clinic and saying, okay, my oncologist just called me. I've been diagnosed with cancer. And God love him, he's a friend of mine now, but the physician that was there was like, okay, I haven't heard about this cancer before, but we'll try to give you something so that you can, you know, get through this period of time. Because over the holidays, they're not doing radiation treatment. At least they weren't flying me out of Inuvik to Edmonton to go through my treatment. So I had to wait something like 25 days, knowing that something was in my body trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So I got through it with lots of love, lots of tea and bubble baths, and lots of Ativan. It is what it is.
I know we could go super deep into that, but when we reconnected, we've been connected with you regularly, but when we connected about you coming on We Get It, it was in part hoping to talk about the major massive changes. So you went through cancer, which is, you know, as many of you watching
Big change.
know, you know, kind of a change. And but the last really year, and then as we were talking, in the last 3 years, there has been many transformations, and that's where I wanted to focus the next part of our conversation. And when I messaged, I love what you said to me, which I hope it's okay I share. When I messaged Ashley, I was like, oh, you know, I know you're kind of in the process of going through a divorce. Are you okay talking about your relationship? And just let me know, you know, no pressure. And then her answer was, which I have in front of me, you said to me, I'm an open book, and I thank the other open books of the cancer world for helping shape the brave person I am today. It was their stories that have pushed me into my new life of positive change. Seriously, I read that sentence a few times, and to me, it speaks so powerfully of the power of stories and how other people's stories can actually shift us, put us in a different headspace, in a different energy, and kind of help us move toward a different path. And sometimes, and I'm sure you will tell us, it's not always easy. It's not because now you're middle of the night in New Zealand, woo woo, that this road was easy. But I just love how you said that. So before we kind of move to New Zealand with you, let's look at, if you're okay, talk a little bit about your relationship, because right now you are separated from your husband and in the process of a divorce. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that got to that?
Absolutely. So we were together from first year university. So that would have been like 12 years ago. And we got married when I was 24, moved to the Arctic when I was 27, and we had, like, he was an amazing, amazing husband to me. Like really right until we had problems. And when I got diagnosed, I felt that there was a bit of a change in our relationship. And I wasn't sure if it was that I was very focused on myself. And I think rightfully so. I was like, okay, I just have to get through this cancer. I just have to stay alive. You know, I wasn't focused on anybody or anything. And maybe that was selfish, but that was just where my mind went and where I went as survival mode, as somebody going through this, right? So, I really felt from pretty much treatment to when we decided to separate that we were just going down different paths. It was almost like a light bulb went off in my mind. When I heard I had cancer, I no longer cared about saving up a bunch of money. Well, my father would say, make sure you have retirement savings. It was like we had moved to the Arctic to build our dream home, to have a big car, and to have a bunch of kids. And all I thought about was how much I wanted to travel and how much I wanted to see the world, and I wanted to have new experiences, and I wanted to get, my degree in dentistry, and there are all these things I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, okay, something just shifted, and it honestly happened overnight.
Yeah.
I think it happened probably the night I heard I had cancer. So
Yeah.
then I, of course, go through the treatment, and he's there by my side, and like a good caretaker, he's thrown into this world he doesn't know anything about too. I've got to give him some credit there, of course. But then when I recovered, there was a disconnect, um, and I'm sure that there are lots of other people out there who feel the same.
Mm-hmm.
They become changed people. I had a coworker actually tell me that she had seen me pre-cancer, and she called me Luke's Ashley. I was not very outspoken. Yeah, so Luke is my ex-husband.
Oh gosh, I was like,
And then,
who is that? Okay.
yeah. So I was Luke's Ashley, and then after cancer, I became this. Or she said, like, you just became this beautiful butterfly that I think was just waiting to come out. And I said, you know what? I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's funny. I do wonder how you say it almost happened in over the course of a night. And
Mm-hmm.
part of me thinks that you probably had all of these dreams that you listed. They were there. They existed in you. But sometimes we think we're supposed to do things a certain way. We think we want certain things. When in our deeper essence, it's like, no, actually, this is not. So when something happens, sometimes it's something like cancer. Other times there are all kinds of other reasons. I think that
Mm-hmm.
almost like force this. No, no, no. I need to really listen to my pure essence, and this is actually what is calling me and what I want. And then if it doesn't fit with whoever you're with, yeah, shit hits the fan.
It's funny that you say that, because it was about to come out of my mouth that I had this feeling I think in my heart, that I always wanted to see the side of the world that I'm on now.
Hmm.
And I thought, how am I going to do that if I'm married and I'm supposed to be settling back in Nova Scotia and having children? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And eventually I will have that. And I do want that. But yeah, when we get to the part about me being here, I'll tell you how I felt when I landed.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can't underestimate those questions that sometimes they pass really quickly in our mind, and we almost feel guilty for thinking it,
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh my God, but I'm just supposed to be grateful for what I have. I'm just supposed to. And then sometimes there is a real truth in us kind of, but how am I going to do this if I'm there? And anyway, it's hard to trust at times, but I feel like
Yeah, it is.
you did, and you took this amazing leap of faith. um, so let's go there. So I guess marriage and all of that was ending. uh,
Yeah.
so from there, how do we get to you sitting on that chair on the other side of the world?
So, yeah, there's been people have come in and out of my life, and there is definitely reasons for me being here. Um, the opportunity for something new, the opportunity to see to live in a world where there is no snow.
Mm.
If further south I go in New Zealand, I will see it, but just something completely. I just done the Arctic. Let's go somewhere warm.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so marriage ended, and it's funny. I did have everything. We had built a beautiful home on a lake in Nova Scotia. I had my car. We had saved money. Kids were probably on the way.
Mm.
I think prior to the conference, I had been, or to the YACCtivist training I had been to, we, like a couple months prior, had been talking about it, and talking about having kids. And it's crazy now that I'm sitting here speaking to you, and I have a completely new life, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
So of course, during COVID, I'm trying to figure out how the heck I can get here. And I'm Googling, how are they letting people into New Zealand right now? And as you know, Jacinda Ardern has sort of had this place on lockdown. There's pretty well no COVID here in New Zealand. I don't know where my mask collection is. Life's pretty dandy down here. But they're allowing, and this is why I think the universe just sort of delivered.
Yeah.
I'm a healthcare professional, so I work in dental hygiene. And I had seen that they were allowing people to enter on critical purpose visas if they had one of these skills. And of course, dental hygiene was on the list. And I thought, as if that's a critical skill right now, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I applied for the visa, and they had said, you need to have your dental license, and you also need to have you need to have a job offer. So I took to Google and I applied for every job I could find in New Zealand. And of course, I had my dental license all set up. It was pretty easy to transfer my dental license, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I interviewed for a job at probably 2 a.m. My 2 a.m. in Nova Scotia, actually, that's where I was. And my wonderful employers, who I just love, interviewed me from their living room and offered me the job the next day. And of course, then the visa got approved, and I woke up one morning and I was sort of hemming and hawing on the idea of leaving in today's climate, and I knew my family was going to be a bit wary of me. What if we go into another lockdown and I lose my job and I'm on the other side of the world and I have no financial support or family support and don't really know anybody?
Yeah.
So I one morning woke up, and my mom used to come I was staying with her in her spare bedroom. She used to come in every morning and like put her hand on my leg and say, good morning, darling, I'll make you a cup of tea. And this one morning, I don't know, like the way she touched my leg, I was like, I love her, and I love staying with my mom, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready. So I said, today's the day we're buying a ticket to Auckland. So she and I booked a ticket on the phone, and then she was running around like a mad woman trying to gather all these medications to throw in this big bag for me. And we played a game of keep or throw, like, do you want this dress or do you want this dress? What do you think you're gonna be wearing more of? Because you can only bring two suitcases with you.
Right.
Yeah, because I ended up spending a fortune on an extra one. But anyway, so then I got on the plane. And I actually didn't tell my dad until I arrived that I was in New Zealand, because I was really worried about what he was going to say. Anyway, he told me, I said to him, I was like, Dad, you love me unconditionally, right? And he's like, yeah, where are we burying the bodies? And I'm like, okay, I'm writing you from Auckland. And he goes, I'm writing you from the lake. Are you effing serious? He's been so supportive, and my whole family's been so supportive. But yeah, I landed in Auckland. Oh my gosh, how long was my journey? Probably 30 hours. And I landed, and then of course I got swept off to the COVID hotel, because everybody that lands here has to go into mandatory isolation in a hotel. And when I got to the hotel, I laid down, I took a breath, and I looked outside, and I could see the Sky Tower, that big tower in Auckland, the Auckland skyline. And I just said, I feel like I just lost 1,000 pounds stress off my shoulders. Like, I am in the right place. First person I met out of isolation was a beautiful soul from Nova Scotia who felt the same way. Yeah, she is my fairy godmother. We're spending Christmas together this year. She's just been so kind. We've had lots of adventures in my 3 months here. And I've met all kinds of amazing people. I love my job. Of course, there are days where I feel incredibly lonely. I'm now living with 3 male flatmates. I've never had flatmates before. I've always been with my partner. I now have to, I don't own anything anymore. There are things I don't have to fall back on like I used to. I have my single income. So there are changes that, when I look back and I think about the life I had, there are moments that were beautiful. And I have to remind myself that that's not the life that's not really the direction it was heading in, and that the life ahead of me is going to be great. It's going to deliver. I am where I'm meant to be right now.
Yeah.
So my current visa expires in February, but I am working on my new visa because I'd like to stay here. We'll see.
A little
Maybe
longer.
indefinitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now,
I
maybe another 3 years for sure.
I love this. And not to bring it to me, but Ashley, like
Mm,
aside from the cancer, so I didn't get a cancer diagnosis, but so part of my heart feels um, full of light to see everything you went through from the moment you got diagnosed to today. And then, yes, that involved some pretty risky choices. And at the same time, whoever's listening, it's not like everybody needs to pack their bags and move across the world. It's just more to me, I feel like all of this, regardless of where you are in geography, there
mm-hmm.
has been, the transformation has been inside of you, making decisions really to connect with really who you are and who you were after cancer happened to you. And then based on that, figure out where do I feel I should be. And I love, like, you and I can chat about that another time, but so many parallel, Ashley, between what you just described and when I moved to Newfoundland. So I'm
Yes,
from
you felt like you were in the right
Montreal,
place.
and I had my fairy godmother was in Montreal, but she was a Newfoundlander. She connected me to people here. And when I remember, like, you so crystal clear landing in Newfoundland for the first time when I moved, like I came, found an apartment
Yes,
and then came back. And landing and going to the hotel by not COVID times, but going to the hotel by the airport and kind of realizing where I was. It was February, cold, snowy, but crisp
Newfoundland, February.
sunshine. It was beautiful. And I knew when I landed, something inside of me knew it was exactly where I was supposed to be. And to your point, following that, there were extreme joys that I still feel today. I have family now in Newfoundland that I consider family, and
Yep.
everything about this place and my job. And in the last 12 years for me, so I've been here almost 12 years,
Wow.
there has been, to your point, there are all kinds of things that you get a chance to sort through when you are not in your day-to-day life. When, for me, I sorted through a lot of stuff being away from my family, away from maybe some choices that sometimes it's like it wasn't bad and I made the choices I could when I was home. But ultimately now I'm kind of thinking, oh, was it always the choices my heart wanted to make, or was it the choices I thought I was supposed to make? Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, so there's so many parallel. I love that you're there and that you kind of made that whole. And I bet, like, there were, so medically, I know some people are going to wonder, because I know some people have this travel bug inside of them, but
Yep.
medically, was that complicated for you to figure that out?
Yeah, it's a bit anxiety induced. So fortunately, I've had a few genetic tests that have told me that the probability of me having cancer again is pretty low. There's always a risk. So I still have to see an oncologist quarterly, and I have to have biannual scans of my liver, whether that's an MRI or an ultrasound. So before I came here, I saw an oncologist in Halifax, and I will be seeing an oncologist in Auckland, probably within the next 2 or 3 months. I probably shouldn't be waiting 2 or 3 months. It's important not to, but just with the way my health insurance is working out, I have to just have faith that I'm feeling good, I'm happy, and I will see my oncologist soon. He's the only one that deals with my cancer in New Zealand, and he's in Auckland.
Okay. Really,
So
he's where you live.
I've joined a support group for ocular melanoma survivors in Australia and New Zealand. So I'm now able to be like, all right, when are we doing like a meet and greet, or like, who are you seeing for specialists? Can you recommend an optometrist to me? So yeah, they work a bit differently, and the treatments here are a bit different than they are in Canada. So I'm curious to know what sort of scan schedule they'll have me on.
Mm-hmm.
But worst case scenario, when my visa runs up in February, I have an appointment set in Calgary with my beloved oncologist,
Okay.
who I was very, very sad to leave.
I
The man
bet.
that saved my life. Yeah.
No, you became friends with your oncologist,
Oh,
which is quite sweet.
yeah. I looked forward to my appointments.
Yeah.
And what I love about my oncologist, he's just so calm. So he comes in, he used to give me these little injections in my eyeball, and it was just like, yeah, this is my day to day. Let me just. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my god, I have to have a needle in my eye. But he just
Oh,
made it. He made it a pretty easy thing to do.
that's neat. And and we haven't really connected on that. I love that you're connected to some support groups. And I love that, you're 3 years out. And I feel like we've talked about that on a few episodes actually, but for a lot of community members who connect with YACC, sometimes they're years out of their cancer experience, and some almost feel bad for still needing a connection with peers or some support in some capacity. And I think it's important to know that that's fine, cool. You should at least have access to support and resources regardless of how far you are from the day of diagnosis. It's not about that. It's about how you feel and being supported, right?
The effects of cancer, I think, will follow me for the rest of my life, depending on whether or not I have another bout of it. Um, it's it's something that I think really, I don't want to say it defines me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that I think led to this change in my life. Um, I think it's important, going through my divorce, I wanted to know how many other cancer survivors or cancer patients are going through divorce. And I know many women who are in the same position as me in their marriages and their relationships. And so you feel like, okay, it's normal. Like, it's okay that I'm getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 30. I can start over. I can still have children. So you wouldn't get that support elsewhere.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I had cancer and I'm getting a divorce, and I still have nightmares of this shit coming back. Or yeah, I'm at my oncologist and I have my skin anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. So I've reached out. There's a young adult group here in the community that I'm living in. I'm going to meet up with them come February. Anywhere I can meet and chat with people
Yeah.
is important. It will always remain part of my life for sure.
Yeah, and it changed you. And they have pretty cool services in New Zealand and Australia. Like when it comes to young adults, they're
Yeah.
pretty amazing, I gotta say. But yeah, I think it's not, and I think you said it well, it's not about saying cancer defines me, it's not your identity. But ultimately, though, to acknowledge the changes it brought in you, that event, that traumatic event, and how it continues to force you or to allow you, however we look at it, to kind of figure out, okay, I'm feeling a bit anxious about disappointment, or I'm nervous about this, or I feel a little bit alone at times. Like it's never all black and white. And I think that's what can make experiences rich, is to see, even though you feel in your core that the choices you've made and where you are right now is right and it is right for you,
Mm-hmm.
that there will still be moments in time where you're going to feel like, oh, okay, and then you're going to adjust and figure that out. And that is the path to keeping up with feeling as good as we can, I think, which you seem to be doing.
Yeah. A couple nights ago, I had a bad night, and I learned I've journaled for a while, and I remember the journaling little seminar we did,
Yeah.
and oh god, the other night I sort of woke up, had a bit of a bad dream, and all I wrote in my journal was feel it, just cry, do what you got to do to get through this little bout of sadness, whatever it is, loneliness. I think it was the new lockdown that's happening, in Nova Scotia, and not being able to be home with family at Christmas. It
Mm-hmm.
just sort of hit me like it woke me out of my sleep. And I said, no, I'm just going to write this down. I'm going to write how I feel, and I'm going to get through it. And you know what? Next morning I woke up and I was like, look at the palm tree and the lemon tree in my backyard. We're doing okay.
We're all right. That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever works, really. And I'm just looking, like, I feel like I had written down, mm, mm, yeah, I guess the last thing, um, how it touches, you touched on it a little bit, but so like we said, all the transformation and changes and move and all of it and divorce and has probably transformed you in your life personally. But do you feel like all of this is also changing the relationship you have with cancer, the place cancer takes in your life, or the power or control, or
Mm, I never want to put cancer in a positive light, but the experience.
Mhm.
Um, it's something that, I'm not ashamed to tell people that I had cancer.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for getting through it. And yeah, I think it's it's shaped me. It really has.
Hmm.
It was a weird little, again, I hate to say it, blessing in disguise. The
Yeah.
the whole experience,
Yeah.
cancer sucks. It sucks a lot, and it's gonna suck if I get mets. It's really gonna suck. But I have, again, met amazing people. I have become I think I've just become the Ashley I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, a more confident Ashley for sure, and someone who is um, driven towards their goals, and not fulfilling the goals of other people and comparing myself to my friends and where they are in their stages of life. That's
Mhm.
all I ever used to do. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
my
That
relationship
makes
with
sense.
cancer has definitely changed. In the beginning, I was like, it's taking away my ability to have children. It's taking away my ability to save money. I hate this so much. My partner and I were fighting all the time, and it was just this dreadful, awful thing. And I actually, in fact, when I was diagnosed with cancer at Christmas time, the year later, I said, I don't want to spend another Christmas, A, in the Arctic, and B, I want to change Christmas for me because it's a dreadful, awful thing because I
Yeah.
now associate it with cancer. And so we ended up, my husband and I went to Germany for Christmas the year after and experienced like the most magical Christmas ever. It was unreal. And that was sort of the moment where I was like, okay, this whole traveling thing, I'm liking it.
Yeah.
So we traveled, and then of course, yeah, sort of faced issues shortly after that.
Yeah. Well, but still, again, it's a try and there's always a moment where we can sit, and it's okay to sit in how we feel if it feels sucky. But then there
Hmm.
are options to say, let's try and shift the energy around it, which you did. And I'm wondering. So you've mentioned you don't feel shy or bad about talking about cancer. So when you, like, I know a lot of our community members, when they look for a new job or when they meet new people, it's like, how do I manage? Do I tell people right away I had cancer? Do I tell my new employer? How did you figure that out?
I have an amazing story about that, actually. Again, these
Yeah.
weird synchronicities happening in my life. So when I interviewed with um, my new employer, I said, listen, I may have to go back to Canada in February because I have a medical issue. And then they sort of bypassed it. And then I got an email from them the next day with the job offer, and she's like, hey, by the way, we didn't want to pry, and like, you don't have to tell us anything, but we hope that you're okay, whatever the medical issue is. And I said, no, I'm happy to tell you. I said, I had eye cancer, da da da. Anyway, fast forward however long it was until I left. Um, I was sitting in the living room. I actually lived with my boss for 2 weeks before I found my own place. They're so sweet.
Seriously.
And I sat down with my manager, and he said, you know what's weird? My mother passed away from your cancer, and it's such a rare cancer. So his mother actually passed away from the same cancer I had, and he's like, to see somebody on the other side of it, he's like, it's so inspiring. And I could cry now thinking about it, but I'm like, I'm meant to
No way.
be here.
Oh my God, I
Yeah,
have chills. No way.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, why am I not sharing this? Because he felt, I guess, happy to be in my presence, and I felt happy to be in his. Um, and they show me a photo of his beautiful mother and her beautiful blue eyes, and yeah, it was quite the moment. And again, I had actually given up on practicing dental hygiene. I wasn't doing it in the Arctic, and I've mentioned that on other channels I've been on. Like, I really didn't enjoy dental hygiene, I'll be honest. But coming here and working in the clinic I'm working in, it's different. I think it's the, what do they say? Here in New Zealand, it's cruisy. Like everyone's just very laid back, and yeah, so it's a different feel to the like sort of the corporate world in some of the cities I've worked in.
That's nice. And
In
once
Canada.
again, like it's taking a chance, like to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, and I understand that for some people, it's not an option. They don't have the same rapport with a future employer or an existing employer. Like we could do an entire episode on just that.
Oh yeah.
But when there is that feel of trust where it's like, I think I can be honest, you are right. Sometimes it helps and allow the other person to say, well, here is my connection to cancer. Here's my connection to trauma. Here's my connection, and then can deepen our relationship with
Yeah.
people. I love that that's how it went. Ashley, I feel like you and I could talk for much longer, but I know you might want to go to bed at some point.
What time is
Um,
it right now? 2:18.
is it? Woo woo! Um,
We're fine.
excuse me. The last thing I'll ask. So often when I get to talk to community members of YACC, I ask them to close. Do you have any message to anyone who might be watching this for the first time, who might be living in isolation from cancer? It doesn't have to be this big giant thing, but anything that
Mm-hmm.
maybe you would have liked to hear or you would like to share to someone watching?
I think for me, the thing that helped me the most when I was, we'll talk. I'm going to talk to maybe the yackers or the people watching this who have maybe recently been diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
and all I saw was darkness, and all I saw was death, and all I saw was the medication I was going to be on, and the hair loss I was going to have, and the weight loss I was going to have. I mean, I just felt everything falling away from me. And I spoke to a lovely girl who was on the other side of it, and seeing somebody on the other side of it and being able to live like a normal life. That was sort of the message that she just said, like, stay the track, like just you're gonna get through it, and every day is gonna get better and better and better, and there's gonna be days where you're sick, and there's gonna be days you look in the mirror and I mean, my eye looked like this for a good half a year, and I was like, I'm never gonna be able to see again. But here I am. I have 20/20 vision. You will have good days, and you'll have really shitty days, and it just ebbs and flows. But yeah, just stay positive. And I hated when people told me to stay positive, but there are brighter days ahead, and this is why I speak, in different channels and in blogs, and heck, I even went to the news.
Yes, you did. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I think like ultimately, which is I'm biased, but connecting with peers, it can be really significant
Be
wherever you are.
vulnerable.
Wherever you are in the cancer, and as we know, some people have prognosis that are better than others. Some people live with cancer, but we know many people living with a cancer that is incurable, who also, like you, have found someone to talk to who has been living for years. We know some of our community members who have been living with for 10 years, 12, 50 with cancer.
And they
So,
are my inspiration. I mean, some of those
right?
amazing activists sitting around our sharing circle, I remember going up to my hotel room that night and thinking, their diagnosis or their prognosis is not as promising as mine. And every day they were coming down with a smile on their face, talking about their future plans. And that's exactly how I want to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
inspiring. Yeah.
That's it. And then on days when you don't feel inspired, on days while you just plain feel like shit, it's okay. And if you are connected to
Absolutely.
the YACC community, I can say for sure that you will find someone in the community who feels like you that day, and then who can just say, I get it, you're fine. Let's get through this day and see if tomorrow's is better. And that's
Right.
the richness of being connected, I think, with a big group of people.
I've had like 5 conversations with women going through divorce on our YACC Facebook page that were just like, oh yeah, what a shitty day today was, or how's the divorce going, or check. This is a check-in. You know, how is everything going?
Yeah.
We're all in different places, but yeah, you'll find someone that will. It's sort of like speed dating.
It is.
Your,
And
your
it's true.
cancer matchmaking.
Cancer matchmaking. This is what we do. This is
Yeah.
our business.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Ashley. This was so great to talk to you. I'm so appreciative of you doing this in the middle of the night. Tomorrow is your kind of Christmas, you said.
It's our Christmas do, yes, because we
Christmas
can have
due.
those here.
So,
Yeah.
no
We
snow. Here it snowed.
no
Well, melted
snow.
now. It's melted now. So there's no snow here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's watched. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did the chat with Ashley. You can find some blogs and articles from Ashley on our website, youngadultcancer.ca. Ashley is a YACCtivist, and she will share stories with us on our website. And hopefully you can join us again next week. In the meantime, every Monday, because our show comes out on Mondays, I always end on this reminder to just breathe. I think there are many, many opportunities each day to reconnect to our breath. I know we hear a lot about it. There's a reason for it. I'm a big fan of it. And I've been really, in the last, I want to say almost 10 years, practicing more and more. And it has helped me tremendously to sometimes just stop for a second, breathe, and then reboot, and then see. And then sometimes I have to do it many times throughout the day. So, hey, having a good day or a bad day, remember to just breathe and have a great week. And you can check our next episode. Actually, we're working with a bunch of things. So next week is going to be, I don't know. So it's going to be a surprise, but check us out next Monday, 7 p.m. Ashley, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Oh,
And
you're so
hope
welcome.
to talk to you soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.